Yeah. So what? So how long have you been at Pahlmeyer then? Just since the acquisition, or
Yes, I started in 2019.
but needless to say, I mean, they showed really well, and I don't know. Could you change anything there when you arrived? They were in barrel, right?
Right. Yeah. Mostly just blending for the 2019s and then kind of getting the lay of the land for Harvest 2020, getting prepared for that, getting up to speed. And then really now just kind of focusing on 2021, right around the corner.
But well, I found the wines really, they've always been fantastic, but maybe it was the 18, but that was really something. That was,
The
I love
18
the way
Pahlmeyer.
that, yeah, I love the
Yeah.
way the tannins, I just love the quality of the tannins in that wine.
Yeah. 18, let's start there. Let's just start from the top.
Sure.
Prop red. Why
Yeah.
not? We can go backwards. We're professionals.
Yeah.
So the 2018 Prop Red was an interesting blend compared to what it's been historically. There was actually a little bit of smoke damage up at Waters, which is the predominant state ranch for Pahlmeyer. So the tough decision was made. Okay, nothing post fire went in, which actually kind of sent us in a really unique direction. This wine has the highest percentage of Stagecoach that we've ever seen
Ah,
in Proprietary Red, and that's from my perspective, that's really promising. Knowing that that's
yeah.
essentially our
What you
estate
guys
ranch.
have. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really exciting to see those blocks of that vineyard really shine in this wine. And it also was one of the first vintages. We're working with a new ranch up in kind of, it's just above Rutherford. I think they're maybe hoping for a slightly different designation, but uh, Upper Range, owned by the Bettinellis. And this is new, it's pretty young vineyard too. And we had to lean pretty heavy into it for 2018, and it delivered. So that was really promising.
That is so interesting because when I tasted it, I was like, well, what happened here? It was so different than
Yeah,
past wines, and it was really this incredible tannin texture. This It was just so silky,
yeah.
and
I think, I
and
mean,
then
that's
the yeah, it because sometimes it was and I like the wines, of course, but the tannins were a little bit coarser tannins, and these
right.
are really fine and silky, and so now it makes sense that the blends different than before. It's coming, more from Stagecoach and from this other vineyard.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, from my perspective, how I blend, we source a lot of really phenomenal fruit from phenomenal ranches, and our farming is impeccable. That transcends any, winemaker that can sit in this position. And, I think my perspective on blending is really managing that finish and managing those tannins. I think these wines are big, they're opulent, but I think it's important to have a little bit of acid in balance with the tannin, especially
Totally.
the mountain fruit and our oak profile. I mean, we're not messing around. We're using heavy toast, Taranto barrels. Those are not shy. That is not a shy oak to put your wine in. So really ensuring that we have something that's velvety and smooth on the finish is really kind of the hallmark of Proprietary Red, from my perspective.
Yeah, but there's a real transparency and also weightlessness to it that I
Mm-hmm.
think, even though you're using some heavy tools there, you know,
Yeah,
it really comes off light-handed or light-footed. It's really, really something.
I like the descriptor. I had someone tell me this years ago, and I never really got it. And then when I started blending the Pahlmeyer wines, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Talking about it like a ballerina, like so powerful, so strong, but graceful and kind of light on your feet. And I
Yeah,
think that really clicked for me with these wines.
I think you really got it on. Well, let's try the Jason then. So, what remind me of the Jason? Is that that's not really the second wine, is it?
So it is.
Yeah.
So we have the Jason tier was created basically to manage what didn't make it into Proprietary Red.
Hmm.
We're working a little bit away from that. We like to do things with intention and focus. So we're actually starting to source specifically for the wine style that we're looking for Jason. And really what that is a slightly lower oak impact. So managing those tannins a little bit softer out the gate, really making something that is fleshy and juicy and that a consumer can, buy within a couple years of the vintage, and it's really showy and just delivers at a pretty approachable price point. A
How much does
moderately
it sell?
approachable.
How much does it sell for?
The Cabernet is $80.
Okay. And what's the Proprietary Red up to now?
210, 220, maybe. I think we were hovering around there.
And again, what I like, the wines are also so, well, look, it's like 8 a.m. and, I could drink them. That's pretty, and I'm not saying, oh, this needs time. They really just have a really nice balance to them. And on this one, I said delicious and satisfying now, but it's going to
Yeah.
age nicely. So it's really just has it all.
Yeah. And I mean, you can definitely take a bottle of, specifically the 2019 Jason Cabernet and lay it down for 10 or 15 years, and it's probably going to look good. But I mean, it's looking very nice right now. And I think that's really what we're going for. It'll evolve and it'll change, but hopefully in a really positive way.
And so are you a bigger fan of 19 or 18?
18.
Okay.
So prior to coming up to Napa, I worked down on the Central Coast in Paso Robles in Rhone country,
Okay.
lots of Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. I'm always trying to get every Napa house I work at to make a Syrah, and no one seems to be biting. That's probably why I'm a winemaker and not in marketing. But what I really like about Syrah is it has this dark kind of plum, blueberry, boysenberry, just a really dark fruit profile. And I think you get that in Cabernet on slightly cooler vintages. You can really extend the amount of time that Cabernet hangs on the vine when you don't have those heat spikes and you're not trying to manage around raisoning and sugar concentration. And you end up with these really beautifully aromatic, expressive wines. I mean, for me, I decide whether I like a wine almost before I've even tasted it. It's
me too.
80% aroma. And I love the delicate kind of blueberry, lavender, blackberry that you get on a cooler vintage. So 2018, I thought kind of the sweet spot for me.
Yeah, me too. It's a real new benchmark for Napa, but it's a benchmark in the sense for winemakers too, because I think that I don't know, maybe you saw the panel I did with Napa Valley Vineyard Association last week, but we were talking about 18 for an hour, and it was really interesting because I really think that it made a lot of winemakers realize, that they can make wines with slightly lower alcohols and more aromatics and finer tannins, and it started around 2010 and 2011, but it really culminated with 18. The wines are just stupendous, particularly the ones that show great balance, like this wine or so many other ones. There's not many high alcohol wines. That's really exciting, and long may it last.
When the vintage allows you to do that, I think there's, sometimes you end up, if your goal is to make a lower alcohol wine, you fall short in flavor and tannin and concentration. But when, you're able to hit all those marks of, maturity from a flavor perspective and keep that alcohol number down and in balance, that's the dream.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people, a lot of winemakers your generation are really like focusing on that. And I've seen that. I just in a conversation with Will Harlan the other day, Like they were picking their 2020 Harlan in late August. Of course, there was pressure from the fire, but then they're like, wow, and now the wines, they're fantastic, he's saying. He's like, it's really
Yeah,
changed that we don't need to follow these patterns we had in the past of picking so late. We
right.
really like the wines. And Screaming Eagle, he picks really early now too. So a lot of these benchmarks for Napa, they're not doing this, really late picking and making, overly alcoholic and heavy wines. So it's pretty exciting. And I think 18, in the end, at most winemakers, I just love the vintage. It's been a real love story for Napa. It's great.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting conversation with, talking about pick dates and how that influences. I mean, that's obviously probably the most critical point of the wine. And for a wine like Proprietary Red, we have the ability to blend. We know going into it, we're gonna work from several different vineyards, in some cases, several different blocks from the same site, and pulling some blocks in on the earlier side to preserve those aromatics and get that really lifted, fresh sort of Cabernet zone, and then having a few blocks that come in later to pack the punch in terms of concentration and intensity. I think that's the key to making a Cabernet blend that is layered and nuanced and really interesting.
Cool. Okay. By the way, have you had much Syrah from Washington?
I love Syrah from Washington. Force Majeure
Okay,
is
good. I
one of
thought
my.
you would. So do I.
Yeah,
I just tasted the new vintage. It's awesome.
from Force Majeure.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
try the new K Vintners 2018s across the board. Insane, and they're really good prices.
Yeah, K Vintners delivers. Yeah, I love Washington. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Good. I knew you
Yeah.
would. Okay, let's try the Chardonnay.
Yeah, we went totally backwards, but I'm
No,
totally
that's good.
excited.
This is how they do it in Bordeaux. They taste the white wine after the red.
Oh, okay. Well, look at us. We're so
So you're good.
French.
Yeah, no, we're so posh.
Yeah, exactly. So this Chardonnay, 2019. So we're back into 2019 world. Again, we had those heat spikes. It was a little bit of a warmer vintage. So, making this Chardonnay, we really had to be very, very artful about our blending, and making sure that we had the acidity. We knew we had the concentration. We knew we had the ripeness that came with the vintage. But the absolute key to this wine is having the acid to hold up heavy toast, Terenceau
Yeah.
barrels, and pretty ripe Chardonnay. And I think this wine is just so elegant and delicious.
What's the what's the alcohol on it? 14.9. Like it has a really nice balance to it. And it feels like it's holding back a bit. Like it'd be interesting to see how it develops, as it's in your glass. When it warms up with air, it probably just fills in even more.
Yeah, I think my like winter ritual. So we did something different with this wine. So typically the Chardonnay would bottle in August, and for the 2019 vintage, we pushed that bottling to let's see, I think we pulled out of barrel in November. And so I've been tasting the 18 and the 19 a lot because I want to understand what that extra couple months gave us. And I started, Cleo actually gave me this tip, and it was a roasted chicken. So put a chicken in the oven, a couple lemons around, bake it. When it comes out, you squeeze the lemons over the top. And throughout that process, you start prepping the chicken, you have a glass of wine, the evening progresses, you have a few more glasses of wine, and just watching the Chardonnay unfold and evolve is a pretty good education on the potential of Chardonnay. It's really interesting.
That's what you want, though. Yeah, exactly. That shows that it's a really serious Chardonnay. That's what white Burgundy does.
Right. Yeah. And then the real, like, game changer is when you have a little bit left and then the next morning you try it again and it's still, generous and bright and fresh.
It sounds like
That's
you better buy yourself a Coravan, because it sounds like that's your second bottle.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.